Glad to see you guys. Can you hear me? Give me a thumbs up in the chat if yes. Hi, great. Awesome. Well, we're so excited to have you all here for this webinar, and we're ready to get started. Awesome. I see that some of you guys know the 6 for thumbs up in the chat. That's great. So where's everybody from? Go ahead, give me in the chat what schools you guys are at. All right, Case Western, you see Irvine, Atlanta. That's awesome. All over the place. Are y'all taking finals right now? Are some of you done? Done. Oh, I'm jealous. I'm right in the middle of finals. Great. Okay, well, go ahead and get started here. I am a junior at the University of Mississippi, and I am an economics major. I'm pre-med, and I am applying this cycle to medical school, so I'm definitely very excited to hear what our presenters today have to say, as I'm sure you all are as well. So to kick things off, I want to go ahead and hand the reins over to Dr. Dale. He is the founder of Pre-MedStar, and he's going to give you guys just some very quick information and an overview of what we have going on here today. Dr. Dale, whenever you're ready.
Hello, everybody. Can you guys hear me okay? All these hellos coming at Dr. Dale, or are they going? There we go. Oh, that's a lot. We got a lot of people on here. That's good. Thanks, Megan. So by now, if you guys, hopefully you guys have joined some of our webinars. We do a webinar usually at least once a month, but for the month of May, at least starting from now, we're going to do a webinar every week. And this webinar is part of a series we're doing with SNMA MAP, so the Student National Medical Association, Minority Association of Pre-Health and Pre-Med students. And so they wanted to do an application bootcamp series, and we were planning to do something similar, but theirs was a lot more intense. And Omo approached us. Omo's in charge of MAP, so I think she's on there somewhere, so you guys can say hi, Omo. And we thought this would be a phenomenal idea. It's the perfect time to do it for you guys as you're preparing to apply to medical school. So for this very first one, we're going to have some individuals from 2 schools, Lincoln Memorial University and then also University of Missouri, and just get a chance to hear a little bit about what they're looking for in an applicant. But I wanted to get on here really quick just to say a few things. First and foremost, thank you guys for joining. Thank you guys for being parts of Pre-MedStar. If you're not on Pre-MedStar, please join Pre-MedStar. It's free, it's amazing, it's awesome. Nothing like this was around when I was a pre-medical student. Essentially, what we do on Pre-MedStar is we allow you guys to network with pre-meds from all across the country. We allow you to keep track of all of your pre-medical activities, so your shadowing, your research, all that stuff you can log and keep track of on Pre-MedStar for free. That's in your portfolio. You can upload notes and share your notes with each other. So we're building a big, large note data bank so everybody will have that to study from. And of course, we're building up our recruitment center. So schools that are joining us here today, Lincoln Memorial University and University of Missouri, both of them are schools that recruit from Pre-MedStar, and there's other schools that recruit from Pre-MedStar as well. So these are schools you can actually get recruited to medical school just by being on Pre-MedStar, completely free. So take advantage of it. All right, we're gonna get started here in a second. I want to show you guys one quick video that you can watch here. And then we'll get going.
Being a pre-med is hard work. With so much going on, how do you keep track of it all? You're in clubs, you're doing volunteer work, research, presentations, physician shadowing, the list goes on and on. The last thing you want to lose track of, all the wonderful things you've done during your pre-med journey. Well, you don't have to. With Pre-MedStar's on-track portfolio, you can log all of your pre-medical activities in one place and access them anytime from anywhere. When it comes time to apply to medical school, you'll be good to go. Stay on track with Pre-MedStar On-Track Portfolio. Join our online community of pre-medical students for free at www.premedstar.com and tell a friend.
All right, so that was one of our videos. We might throw a couple more, excuse me, we might throw a couple more in there throughout the webinar. And two more things I wanted to say real quick, then I'll hand the reins back over to Megan. Is first and foremost, we have a partnership with Kaplan, which is great, and Kaplan's being very, very good to us and our pre-med STAR students. So right now, we'll do a lot of these, but right now we're doing our first free MCAT giveaway. So Kaplan MCAT prep course, a free complete course, and that's going to go to somebody based on invites. So we're obviously trying to grow the number of students we have on pre-med STAR so we can have a better community. So we're doing an invite challenge. You guys invite as many of your friends to join pre-med STAR as possible. For every one student you get to join pre-med STAR, you get a ticket into the raffle. And when it's all done, at the end of the month, we're going to draw, and somebody's going to get a free Kaplan MCAT prep course. That's one thing. The other thing is we're also doing a giveaway of the online biochemistry and behavioral sciences courses. So those come free. All you have to do is be active on pre-med STAR. So once you get 500 activity points, it'll say how much activity points you have. Once you hit 500 activity points, we get a notification, goes to Kaplan also, and Kaplan will send you a free online self-paced behavioral science or biochemistry course. You get to pick which one you want. All right, with all that, that's a lot of talking from me. So Stephanie Clark is asking, how will you know we get them to join? So we track all of that. So whenever you log into pre-med STAR, on the right side of your screen, you'll see a little bar there that has a Facebook symbol, has a Google symbol, an envelope, and a LinkedIn symbol. You can use all those things to invite your friends to pre-med STAR. Just click on that, and they'll have a pop-up, and you can send the invitations that way. Or you can actually go to your profile page. On your profile page, you'll see something that says send invites, and click on that. So as you send out the invites, we keep track. All that is tracked. So we know how many students each of you have invited to pre-med STAR, and we try our best to reward you guys for helping build the community up. And one of the ways we're going to do that is by giving somebody a free Kaplan MCAT course. All right, too much talking for me. Thank you guys for joining. I might chime in again later on, but I want to get things going because you guys didn't come to see me talk. So I'm going to pass it back to Megan and turn myself off. You're welcome, Stephanie. I see you say thank you. You're welcome. So I'm going to turn myself off and let Megan take over again, and we'll keep things moving. Bye, guys. All right, I think Megan's internet is having a little bit of issues there, but I think she might be back on, but I'll go ahead and I'll introduce our first speaker. So we see in the bottom left, you see Dr. Lane Young Walker saying hello. We'll have her come in second, but first we have Ms. Janette Martin and Ms. Whitney Porter. They're from Lincoln Memorial University, and Ms. Janette Martin is actually the director of admissions, and Whitney Porter is one of the admissions recruiters there. So I'm going to let them come on and what you should be thinking about when you're applying to medical schools. Janette, can we hear you okay there? Is your audio on?
I think so. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly. So I'm going to disappear, and Whitney, you can join if you'd like, and I'm going to make the screen bigger so everybody can see you a little bit better. All right, you're on.
Hello. Okay, I can start by just telling you a few things about what we look for, or I can start with questions. How do you want to do it? Lots of hellos, lots of people here. I'm so happy. Okay. As Dr. Dale advised everybody, I'm with Lincoln Memorial University. Oh, there's Whitney. Hi, Whitney. The DeBus College of Osteopathic Medicine. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we look for. We do holistic review. And last year we had 5,129 applications. We interviewed 604 people. And if you interviewed you had a 76% chance of being accepted. We accepted 76% of the people we interviewed, and we enrolled 243. So when I say we look holistically at applications, you're more than just your MCAT, and you're more than just your science GPA or your GPA. Actually, you do have to be competitive, and you do have to show that you can handle the curriculum. So you want to have a strong background in science as possible, and also pretty good stats. Our average science GPA is a 3.45, and this is for the class that entered last year. And our average MCAT is a 501, 502. So, and about 46% of our students have graduate degrees. Not all of them, but some of them do. So, Whitney, do you want to tell them a little bit about what we look for as far as volunteer work and things like that? Can't hear you. Did you push your mic? Okay, well, I'll keep talking. So, I like to talk. I think Forbes came out with a how to get a job interview, and they had three facts on it. And the first one is, can you do the job? And we're going to look at, you can do the job by your stats. Have you had a strong science background, good classes? Have you done well? So that's going to tell us if you're able to do the job. The second fact is, do you have passion for the job, or will you love the job, which is becoming a medical student and physician. So what tells us if you have passion for that is the interview. Are you passionate in your interview? Also your volunteer work, what kind of service, community service, what kind of things you've done to show that you have the passion. And then the final one is, oh, I see Whitney's froze up, sorry. And the final thing is, can we tolerate working with you? Will you be a good student, or will you be too needy? So it's all about balance, and medical school is about balance, and applying for medical school is about balance. So we like to see 50 hours of shadowing or more. We like to see, we use a rubric for holistic review, and on the rubric we have, do you have research experience? Do you have volunteer in a medical field? What kind of community service have you done? What are your experiences like? Have you shadowed? Let's see, what else do we look at? Grade trends. Do you have an upward grade trend? Have you retaken classes? Have you, and here's a question, what do I mean by needy? How often do you, even in the application cycle, how often do you call? How often, do you read the emails that we send, or do you immediately call us and say, tell me what you mean, or we have a lot of students who actually don't read emails. They just come by the office or they'll call us. So we want you to be independent. So yes, self-directed. We like you to be self-directed. So as far as retakes, if you've had to retake, one of the questions is, do we look negatively or positively on retaken classes? Now, if you've had to take organic chemistry, and 3 or 4 times and you can't seem to get a good grade, then that's a pretty negative thing. But if you have taken the class and you have you didn't make the grade you wanted to, and you retook it and made a strong grade, that's good too. So it could be both. It can be a positive or negative. So let me see. Okay, we are a private institution, so we don't have stats for just, we don't have to take just in-state. We do have 42, we're in a tri-state area, Tennessee, Kentucky, and Virginia. We're located in Tennessee, right at the corner of Virginia and Kentucky, right on the border. So we look at that as our in-state area, and we have about 42% from that area, and we have all the rest of the students from all over the United States. We're actually very mission-driven and over location-driven. Okay, and here's another question. What something about how are non-traditional students viewed? We do like non-traditional students. They bring maturity, experiences, a variety of life experiences, and we think they add quite a bit to the makeup of the class. So, does being an international student automatically drop your application down on the list for review? Actually, we do accept international students, but we like them to have ties to the Appalachia, because our mission is to prepare outstanding physicians who believe the cornerstone of meaningful existence is service to humanity. We want our students to serve the underserved, so especially in our Appalachia area. So let's see. How do you look at research post-graduation? We like research. We'll look at it, if you're talking, if you've done a presentation, a poster, a publication, we like all of that. So if you already work in the healthcare field, do you still require shadowing experience? If you're an RN, you probably have several hours of shadowing. You've been around physicians anyway, so you have the clinical experience. That's good. What is the lowest overall in science GPA that has been accepted? Gosh, I don't know. I would say probably maybe a 3.2 science GPA, right in there. Do you accept single parents? Whether you're a single parent or not is not the question. Is, are you realistic about medical school and being able to do what you need to do and still have time for school? Medical school is very time consuming. So we really don't ask people if their parents are single parents or, anything like that. So we want to know if they're mature, if they have any idea what medical school is really like. So do you have a post-bac program? We have a master's program at LMU, and you can take a graduate course it's a master's program in anatomical sciences or biological sciences. And you take gross anatomy, neuroanatomy, histology, some other classes directly with the medical students and doctors. And you have to maintain a 3.0, but we like to see a 3.5 or above in the program. If you maintain a 3.0, you're guaranteed an interview. And once you have an interview, then you can be accepted. Once you're accepted, if you are accepted, you don't have to take medical gross anatomy again or histo. You know, you want to make A's and B's in all your classes, so you wouldn't have to take those. So, what is the acceptance rate for minorities, roughly? I think we have ours, and I'm at home. I actually didn't bring that information with me. Do you know, Whitney, right off?
Can y'all hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. It wasn't detecting my mic earlier. I don't have that information specifically, but I know that our stats from last year said that 37% were from diverse backgrounds, typically underrepresented in medicine. I don't know the details of that, but I have that number.
Thank you.
And I saw another question that somebody asked. I wrote it down before it disappeared, about people with no research experience and their chances of getting accepted. I mean, it's hard to put a number on that, you know, their chance of getting accepted, but there are students who get accepted without research experience. Of course, having it does make you more competitive.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for answering those questions. We're going to have some time for questions at the end as well. So all of y'all typing in the chat, definitely save those for later. And if you all saw some that you wrote down, then we'd love to have your answers afterwards as well. Want to go ahead and introduce Dr. Lane Young Walker, though, really quick, so that she has a chance to share with us about University of Missouri School of Medicine. And then we'll come back at the end, questions for both schools. So Dr. Lane Young Walker is the Associate Dean for Student Activities, and she also oversees admissions at the University of Missouri's Medical School, and she is a practicing child and adolescent psychiatrist. So Dr. Lane Young Walker, we're happy to get your video up. Feel free to share with us whenever you are ready. Oh, no worries. Looks like our camera's not working. Let's see. Alrighty. So it looks like I'm going to give her just a second. I do want, while she's getting her camera up and ready, I do want to share with you guys just very quickly a little bit, kind of, I'll reiterate what Dr. Dale said about Pre-MedStar. It is such a phenomenal resource for students. I know that I've been going through this journey and keeping track of things on an Excel spreadsheet and in a Word document about all of my activities and different things that are going on. So this is a fantastic resource for students to be able to connect with each other and hear what everyone else is doing, and also Leo and note share to kind of keep track of your medical school journey. So that's pretty awesome. All right, let's see. I believe. So Ms. Janette or Ms. Porter, if either of y'all still have your audio up and working. Oh, looks like she might be jumping up. Sorry, all some technical difficulties. Yes. So Ms. Martin said, make sure to keep track of it. Very helpful. Yeah, awesome. So thank you for jumping back on.
Sure.
So while we're waiting for Dr. Young Walker to kind of get her audio.
Okay, here's a question. Can you all hear? How are master GPAs waived relative to the undergrad GPA? We look at everything. You know, we're going to see your undergrad, post-bac, graduate work, we're going to see all of the classes you've attended, and sometimes people go to a graduate program to strengthen their science GPA or their GPA, and we understand that's what what it's there for. You have to have a decent GPA in order to get into the master's program. So we certainly look at the graduate work as your most recent work. And I did say keep track of all your experiences. You want to look very well-rounded on the application. So you don't want to have just all research or all volunteer work. You want to look very well-rounded. So if you do work, if you volunteer with your church, keep that information. If you volunteer as an EMS, work for the fire department, any work, CNA, scribing, all of that is really good. And military, we have a lot of, I think somebody asked, how do we look at veterans? And we like veterans. That's on our rubric if you are current or we have a lot of students that go through with the HPSP scholarship, which is a health professions scholarship. So yes, we have a pretty good size military participants or students.
I saw a question about shadowing a DO. I don't know if that one's answered yet. You're not required to shadow a DO. For shadowing, we would count shadowing an MD as well. And for your physician letter of recommendation, it can be from a DO or an MD.
And our rubric, do we make it public? It's everything that we've been over: community service, volunteer, your personal statement, everything that's in your application we look at. And do you favor a certain master degrees or post-bac degrees? No. If you're in a master's program, well, there she is. I'll stop. Hello.
That I was remoted into my office. So what you saw was my office, but I'm at my house. Can you hear me? Good. Okay. All right. Well, let me talk a little bit about Mizzou Med. So University of Missouri Columbia School of Medicine is a program that focuses on patient-based learning. And so we have groups in the first and second year of students that are in 8 students with 1 facilitator. And there are lectures, but in addition to lectures, there is learning in this case venue. So say, for instance, in block 1, you're dealing with cardiovascular physiology. And so during block 1, while you're getting lectures on that, then you at the same time have a case that is based on that. And so for a lot of people who learn in the context of, a patient or a patient case, being able to do patient-based learning really helps for some versus the traditional way of learning. And so it's not necessarily the best style of learning for everyone, but I know a lot of people do choose to come to Mizzou Med because of the curriculum. And so I'll talk a little bit about admissions. There are many similarities, but some differences as well. So Mizzou is a state school. So it's the University of Missouri Columbia. As a state school, there is a mandate to accept people from the state of Missouri, but we also do accept out-of-state students. And so one of the things that we've done this year, there was a cap on the number of out-of-state students who could be accepted, and that cap was raised so that we could open up the process a little more for more out-of-state students. And so the cap at this point is 25%. This incoming class, we Okay, for the 2000 incoming 17 is 128 students. And so we as well have a holistic admissions process where we're looking not only at your scores and your grades, but we're also looking at all the other things that you've done that help make you a well-rounded candidate. And so we go through a screening process, and then I don't have the data for 2017, I'm sorry, but for the most recent year before that, 2016, we actually had 2,167 applications. Of that, 580 were in-state and 1,587 were out-of-state. We accepted, last year we had a smaller class. So last year we accepted 104, this year 128. And last year 89 were Missouri residents and 15 were out-of-state. So you'll see that our out-of-state number is higher, and I apologize that I don't have that in front of me, but higher for 2017 than it was for 2016. And I do see a question, are there international students too? And at this point, we do not accept international students. So that's one difference between us and the prior university. And so when we're looking at bringing people in for an interview, we're looking at a combination of things. We're looking at their GPA, we're looking at their MCAT score, we're also looking at what are the things they've done that help you know that they really want to be a doctor, whether that be shadowing or research experience or whatever, you know, different organizations or leadership experiences or volunteer work. We look at all of those things. And I would say that no one thing is weighted heavier than another. So it's not that you have to do research to get in or you have to do volunteer work to get in. Shadowing is pretty important. And so if you're able to have some sort of exposure that allows you to spend time with other physicians and get a better sense of what being a doctor is, that's helpful. But just like the question from the RN earlier, you know, if you're an RN and you're with doctors and patients all the time, you can speak to that and don't necessarily have to have the level of shadowing. So if you look kind of at what our GPA average is, it's around 3.79, but within that average, and there's been a range. Yes, we do have some people that we're accepting at a 3.8 to 4.0, but we also have about the same number of students between that 3.4 and 3.79 range. And we actually have had a few students in the 3.2 to 3.39 range. And so one of the things that I've always said, even before I took this role, I'm the Associate Dean for Student Programs, was that if you want to be a doctor, it's not just about the numbers. You need to make sure that you're doing as well as you can related to your GPA and your MCAT scores, but you have the ability in your application through your personal statement to be able to sell yourself and to talk about all the things that are reasons why we should accept you into the medical school. And so when you apply, if you're an out-of-state resident, there's a secondary out-of-state application that asks some questions that help get at some things like diversity and inclusion and just some more information. But there is also a secondary application. So, you know, you not only have your personal statement as an opportunity, you also have that secondary application as an opportunity to be able to give information to sell yourself as a candidate that we need to have at Mizzou. So you go through and you apply. There's a screening process that does look at your scores and your application. That screening process does not just look at the grades, it looks at everything. And then the question is, are secondary applications sent to all applicants? And no, the secondary application is sent for applicants that we are strongly considering and moving on towards the interview process. So then you have that ability to be able to sell yourself through the personal statement, through the secondary application, and then we may invite you to an interview. When you come to interview with us, you interview with two people. They score you or rate you. If their scores are significantly apart or different, then they bring in a third interviewer to try to make sure that there's a good capture of your application and who you are as a candidate. But typically, most people have 2 interviews. And then after the interviews, there's a committee of all the people who are doing interviews that come together and review your application. So the interviewers really are the ones who plead your case. They talk about the reasons why you should be a doctor. So, it's really important that you stand out in that interview so that they can sell you as a quality candidate. And then every admissions committee member has the opportunity to be able to vote. And so there was a question I missed: what sort of hobbies are best to include? There's not really a good or bad, right or wrong, but you need to be honest. I mean, don't say that you're doing a hobby that you're not really doing. And those may be things that they ask you questions about in the interview. And so if it's a hobby that you're truly interested in and motivated in, and you can talk about that, then that's fine. But I wouldn't just put a hobby just to put a hobby down. And so there's also a question related to the MCAT. And we have some data, of course, on the old MCAT, and now most people, I think, have taken the new MCAT, right? And so the new MCAT scores are probably what you're looking for more. I don't want to be wrong in telling you this, so give me a second to look that up, and I'll make sure that before we finish, I give you the average MCAT score for matriculated students. I'll take a look at that and answer that question. And so if there are any thoughts or questions, definitely send them my way. We are looking for candidates who are motivated, interested, driven, determined, understand what they're getting into, and are able to articulate that. And so, I think last year we did take some of the old MCATs, but as we go further on, that won't be possible. If you have a specific question you're planning to apply and you want to know will we take that old MCAT or not, I urge that you call our Office of Medical Education and just verify with our admissions director. So the question is, what's the best way to answer the question, tell me a little bit about yourself? Or what kind of things should you talk about? And I think that's an open-ended question that an interviewer will ask you to try to get to know you better. And so you've had lots of opportunities through your application and your personal statement to talk about why medicine. You will answer those questions, I'm sure, in the interview. But tell me a little bit about yourself. I would start with just making sure that they understand my background, my interests, my motivation to be a doctor. And if you have any experiences in life that have kind of led you to that, you can talk about those experiences. The one thing about interviewers is there are some standard questions, and they will often at the end ask you, do you have any questions? So you will stand out if you go to a place that you've actually looked that place up, you have some information, and you can ask a question that is intelligent and makes sense. For somebody who might come to Mizzou, we have, patient-based learning. So if you are looking up and understanding that a little bit more, you might be able to ask a more specific question about patient-based learning. And that will allow them to know that you are serious about the school, that you've been able to kind of fully pay attention and look at the school. So the question is, it costs a lot of money going to fairs and visiting schools. Do med schools penalize students that can't attend fairs? It's great to do that because you can connect with people, but it's not necessary. It's not mandatory. If you don't go to a fair or don't meet an admissions director at a fair, you still have the same opportunity at Mizzou Med to be able to get accepted. One of the questions that was asked earlier was related to URMs. And there's a focus at Mizzou Med to, number one, have students who work well together because of our patient-based learning. It really is important for them to be able to work well in groups. But it's also important that they're not cookie cutter, that every student doesn't look the same. We need to have diversity of experiences, and we need to have diversity of ethnicities so that when they come together to have those discussions, they can have discussions that have more than one point of view. And those are really, really critical. And so we've been working on different things that we can do to increase our diversity, not only in ethnicity, to increase diversity overall in our population. That's one of the reasons why, even though we're a state school, we've increased the cap of out-of-state students who can come. Dale, were you trying to take over?
Hey, I'm going to jump in real quick. Somebody asked a question about the fair. Oh, little echo, 1 second. Dr. Walker, are you able to mute? Nope, I think yours is okay. Can you guys hear me okay? All right, perfect. Yes, the webinar is recorded. Somebody asked a question about the fair, so I'm going to take this opportunity to make sure all you guys understand what Pre-Med Star is. I'm going to show a video here, really quick, 1-minute video, so you guys understand the concept about how you can get recruited. And then we'll go back to Q&A.
As a pre-med, you do some pretty cool things. Club leadership, shadowing, volunteer.
I think Dr. Lane Young Walker, we might need to mute your audio. There we go. Let's try this again here.
As a pre-med, you do some pretty cool things. Club leadership, shadowing, volunteering, research. Really amazing stuff. Wouldn't it be nice if there was a place you could showcase these things to medical schools before you applied? Well, there is. With Pre-Med Star's Recruitment Center, you can upload your pre-medical profile and allow participating medical schools and post-bac programs to view it. No matter where you are, no matter how busy you are, and no matter how much money you have, you can be a part of this recruitment fair. So show off a little. You never know. You just might get recruited to medical school. Join our online community of pre-medical students for free at www.premedstar.com and tell a friend.
All right, were you guys able to see that video? I hope so. So that's the perfect. So that's the idea. Somebody has a question about recruitment, so take advantage of Pre-Med Star. Free schools are reaching out to students on here, and some students get recruited. So take advantage, be interactive, favorite the schools that are on here, and we're getting more and more school interest every day. So take advantage of it. And all this is recorded also. So if you guys didn't see the video just now, don't worry, it's recorded. So we'll put this online later on. But now I'm going to ask Ms. Janette Martin and Whitney Porter to join Dr. Lane Young Walker, and we'll have all three of you do a Q&A for the last 15 minutes here. And I'm going to exit myself and reformat the screen. I apologize for the screen changing sizes. That's just how we have to reformat it so everybody can see. So I'm going to exit, then I'll make the screen big, and you guys have that. Medical schools that have joined Pre-Med Star are recruiting students. So the schools are on there, UNC is on there, Mizzou, LMU. We have a handful of other schools on there. If you log on to Pre-Med Star and click the schools tab, you can see which schools are on there. They're actually recruiting, and we're getting more and more interest every day. So we're building up the school profile. Also, postbacks are there also. So I'm going to exit so you guys can ask your questions.
Can you hear me? I'll address as someone who doesn't have research experience. Should an MPH program, should you do for MPH or research? Research is not mandated to get into LMU or probably some other schools too. But it's just one thing we look at. So, but it's not a mandate. Is it for Mizzou, Dr. Walker? Aaron Walker?
Yeah, Dr. Young Walker, you're still muted.
Okay, while she's Dale muted me, Dr. Dale. While she's getting her mic back on, I will ask that answer the letter of rex. We like a letter of reference from a physician, and it can be a DO or MD, osteopathic or allopathic. And we also like a couple of science faculty who have taught you in one of the sciences. So 2 science faculties or a pre-med committee letter. Are you on?
You muted me, and now I can't get back in.
We hear you
I
now.
can hear you now.
Oh, wonderful. Great. There's nothing I could do to fix that. Go ahead. I didn't want to interrupt your answer.
Well, I'm done. We were talking about research.
Oh, okay. And what I had said was research is okay, but at Mizzou Med, the shadowing is important. I mean, we want to know that you've spent time with other physicians and you know what you're getting into. And the lack of research won't keep you from getting in. I think no shadowing, no experience with working with doctors or knowing what medicine is about might hurt you. What about academic references for non-traditional applicants who graduated a long time ago? So the question would be, would you be a non-traditional applicant who's in the working world or who is in a master's program or some educational program? If you are, it doesn't have to be necessarily undergraduate. If you have somebody from the undergraduate that you remember and remembers you, they can still write a letter. But it would be good to have some letters of people who know you, close in time to your application.
We also make substitutions. If you're non-traditional. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
You look at self-made post-bac program GPAs, separate from undergraduate program GPAs. So, we've had instances where people in their undergraduate years maybe struggle, and they have a story and they can talk about why their GPA was very low, and then they went on to do a master's program or a post-bac program and had excellent grades. We look at everything, but if the most recent grades are higher and you have a story as to what happened, you're not X'd out from getting in. You still might be accepted, but we need to see that you have an ability either through MCAT scores or grades to be able to master the sciences. We don't want to bring someone in who struggles tremendously with the curriculum, because I think, as you said earlier, it's pretty intense going to medical school no matter where you go. There's a lot of information given in a very short time. And so we want to make sure that you can handle that. And there's various ways to look at that. It's not just the undergraduate GPA.
What is the most common mistake people make during an interview? I would say it's when they're not really patient or service centered. It's all about me, me, me. I've done this, this, and this. So make sure you are in it for the right reason, whether it's service, helping people. Make sure you get that across too.
And there's a question that I don't fully understand. It's kind of ... that prevents a student from getting accepted. This is that, oh, most common mistake. That's a continuation of the question you just answered. Okay.
Now, here's one about biochemistry. You will need biochemistry for the new MCAT. We don't require it, but we certainly recommend it.
I don't know if that's all the questions. There's no more coming across the screen. Is there a common mistake in the personal statement? I don't know if it's a common mistake, but I would echo your point, Janette. We don't want it all to be about I. If your letters and your information that you provide, yes, you're talking about yourself, but there's a way to be able to represent yourself in your mission, in your goals, and not necessarily the things that you've done. So overselling yourself, I think, is a mistake that can happen, and you have to be cautious about that.
Do you look at all self-made post-bac programs GPA? I guess you mean that you're not in a specific program, but you're taking upper level sciences, and yes, we look at those too.
How will both schools use Pre-Med Star when recruiting? How often will you use this as a resource to recruit? So, and I skipped a question about GPA. Sorry about that. But the recruiting piece, we have Robin Clay, who is our main recruiter. We have other people who are doing recruiting too, but he stays in touch with Dale and pays attention to Pre-Med Star. And uses it to be able to connect with students who have an interest in Mizzou Med. So we feel like it will be a very valuable tool, and has been a very valuable tool to help us with recruiting. And I'll let Janette answer with her school.
We just recently hooked up with Pre-Med Star, and we're trying to get some of our student ambassadors to also be able to answer questions you have. And Whitney, you use Pre-Med Star, don't you?
I have used it a little bit. As we're getting into this new cycle, I'm going to start using it more.
And there was a question about, can a high MCAT score kind of balance out maybe a lower GPA like 3.2 to 3.4? We look at all of it. And so we look at how are you doing on the sciences in the MCAT, and how did you do on your GPA? And we look at it as one whole picture, not that one thing sells you or doesn't sell you. And there was another question about, do we have advisors? So people in the first 2 years are assigned a pre-clerkship or pre-clinical advisor that they connect with, and I have had, even before I was associate dean, students that I work with. And so typically what I tended to do is try to help them feel welcome to the university, have lunch with them, make sure I was available to them. And then we have clerkship advisors for the 3rd and 4th years, and they tend to help a lot with the process of determining your specialty and match and those kind of things. So yes, we have an advising system in place for all 4 years.
We use a student. We have a student mentors, like when we use a college system, when you first come in, you are assigned to a college, and it will have second-year students in it who will become your mentors, and your faculty advisors are also assigned to that college.
And then I know we may be skipping, but I'm trying to not miss the questions. Does your institution have special tracks for incoming medical students, such as rural health or urban health? So we actually have a program called the Bryant Scholars, and those are students who are guaranteed, as long as they keep their grades and MCAT scores at a certain level, they are accepted into medical school early on. So, you know, a senior level of high school, and then they go on to college, and they have certain criteria. They have to go to college here at Mizzou. So these are for Mizzou students. And then we also have a rural track. So in your third year, you can choose to go on the rural track, which means that many of your rotations are in more rural areas. And so that is not mandated, but for students who are interested in that, we have that opportunity for them.
Okay, here's one that missed the cutoffs. We don't really have cutoffs. Our averages are a 345 science and a 501, 502 MCAT. Those are averages.
And our averages are around the same area. I mean, the range of common MCATs was between 500 and 504. Estimate the volunteer hours when, okay, I may have missed the answer to this question, but is it okay to estimate volunteer hours when filling out the activities section? I have not kept track of it. I don't want to overestimate. And I think it's fine if you have, I mean, it doesn't have to be the exact number of hours, but it needs to be realistic, and it needs to be close or very close to what you actually did. So if you can try to recreate that in some way or come up with a number that makes sense for what you really did, then that's what we'll take.
Here's one. I've heard warnings about applying to schools after June. Now, with the DOs, you apply through ACOMAS. And I say we start our interviews late August, early September, and we have rolling admissions. Typically, I think the last interview was April 21st this year. So if you get an interview the first half of the cycle, like before the break, the winter break, I consider that right on time. The applications get much more competitive after the first of the year.
And I would echo that. We also have an early decision process, and we usually accept maybe anywhere from 1 to 3 students early decision, where they apply and they come through interview and commit to our school in August. So you can, if you choose to do early decision, do that at Mizzou Med.
And Monet, in case you didn't see my answer, you asked about the GPA. But Janette said it was 345 overall and 3.4 science GPA.
As far as more stringent requirements for international students, it's actually, we want you to have ties to Appalachia. You know, that's what we're looking for, and that's on our international student page.
And we don't accept, we take U.S. residents, so we don't have the international piece. And the last question, I guess, is how can students express, wait a minute, there's 2 questions. So, how can they express interest in using Pre-Med Star? I'm going to let Dale answer that one probably. But please tell us about housing facilities. Is there housing on campus for med students? Most of our medical students live in the community and in apartments. And there was some married student housing in the past for graduate students, but I don't think that that's available anymore. And I am sorry, I am going to have to get off, Dale, in a minute. I don't know if you want to answer that question about how they can express an interest in Pre-Med Star, or Janette, if you have an answer.
Hello, everybody. All right, thank you guys. So I will let you guys exit because everybody say thank you to Dr. Lane Young Walker, to Ms. Whitney Porter, and Ms. Janette Martin. They have so graciously taken up a full hour of their time to answer your questions and try to make sure you guys are going to be as prepared as possible for your application. So thank you guys so much for participating. I'm going to make my screen big again. And overall, thank you guys for coming, joining the webinar. I saw Dee had asked the question. And by the way, I think that Dee is our pre-med of the week. So if you guys have not congratulated Dee, everybody needs to go online and you can read about Dee. She has a nice little article. She's done a lot of great stuff. She even had her own company. So make sure you go on there and you read about Dee. She's a pre-med of the week. And just so you guys know, that pre-med of the week will get sent out to every medical school on Pre-Med Star every week on a weekly basis. So we're actually resuming all these things on Pre-Med Star. So the schools such as University of Missouri, LMU, UNC, Yale, all these schools on Pre-Med Star will be notified about the Pre-Med of the week every week. So good job, Dee. And to answer your question, whenever you click on the school button, there's a little favorite star. And you just click on that favorite star and the school will know, we'll have a list of people who are interested in them. And then they can do with that what they choose to do with that. So thank you guys so much for joining this webinar. Remember, this is a boot camp series, so we're gonna have a webinar next week and the week after and the week after. Next week, I just confirmed with Omo. And Omo, you could write it in there if you haven't already. But next week we'll be doing the AMCAS application walkthrough for the webinar next week. Remember, please invite. Can somebody, let me get at least one person down there who's willing to invite a friend to join Pre-Med Star. Who's one person? There you go, thank you. And more than a friend, very easy, invite your whole entire pre-med club. Just send the email out, go in there. Remember, it's on the right side of the screen when you log into Pre-Med Star. You can invite by Facebook, so if you click Facebook, it'll post to your Facebook account. And anybody who joins from your Facebook account link, you get credit for, so that can help you win that pre-MCAT course also. And just invite as many people as you can. We need as many people so we can have a great community. A lot of questions and answers are being posted and answered by the pre-meds on Pre-Med Star. As Ms. Martin indicated, we're actually bringing med students on Pre-Med Star. This should start next week to answer some of your questions also, and they'll help represent the schools as well. And take advantage of the portfolio, the recruitment center, and the note sheet. And we've got a lot more cool stuff coming out that you guys don't know about yet, but when it gets out there, you'll like it. So thank you to OMO and SNMA Maps for doing this partnership with us to get you guys ready for this application cycle. So I'm going to get off again. I'm going to let Megan wrap it up and just say thank you guys so much. After this, log on to Pre-Med Star if you have any questions. I'll try to get online and maybe answer some of your questions. So you can log on to Pre-Med Star if you have any MCAT questions. You can actually post them in the MChat, and then very smart people like Megan, and we have a few other people, Auburn, some really great people will go on there and they help answer questions in the MChat. All right, so I'm getting out. Thank you guys for joining. I'll see you guys online on Pre-Med Star. Invite as many friends as possible, and we'll see you guys next week for the webinar also.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Dale. I hope that y'all enjoyed hearing from those people from admissions from 2 different medical schools. That was a lot of really great information that we got to hear, and I'm glad you got to hear a little bit about Pre-Med Star as well. Hope to see you guys on the site. There's lots of really great forums. And Dr. Dale was talking about the MChat feature. It's fantastic too. We have some great people who have already taken the MCAT or who are looking to take it, who can answer all your questions there. So as we mentioned a little bit, there will be a webinar next week about filling out the AMCAS application, and an invite will be sent out for that webinar next week, and that will be sent out tomorrow. So make sure you look for that and register. And thank you all so much for attending. And make sure to invite some friends. Bye. Have a good night.